morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this graduate open event on for MSc Global Management of Natural Resources, a very exciting MSc program that you will hear more about later on. My name is Vivek Dua, and I'm Deputy Head Education. I've been at UCL for about 20 years and have enjoyed every moment of it. Academically, because it's a great place to be, and also socially and personally because it's in London, a very central and international place. I was born in India, came to England for my PhD studies, and actually never left. It's such an great place to be. So without further delay, I will hand over to Dr. Alex Norori-McCormac, who is the Program Director for this MSc, and he will tell you more exciting things about this program. Alex.
Great, thank you, Vivek. So just to introduce myself, I'm Alex Norori-McCormac, and I had the privilege of being the Program Director for this really interesting MSc program. That's been running now for 8 years in the department. So it really has grown and developed and filled what we think is an important niche in the natural resources sector, which aligns with many of the objectives and areas covered by chemical engineering. So just to provide you with a short agenda for this morning's event, we're going to do a quick summary of UCL and engineering, the engineering faculty as it is today. We'll then do an overview of the MSc program itself, talk a little bit about what it consists of, things that are coming forward for the year that you would be joining the program, and talk a little bit about the various aspects, including the Australia component of the program. And then we'll close with some final remarks and comments and provide an opportunity for a Q&A at the end of the session. So UCL today is the largest campus-based university in the UK, and the second largest university in the UK. And it consists of many different faculties covering almost every subject you could possibly imagine. And we are based within engineering sciences, so one of the largest faculties within UCL. And you can see some statistics here. It is amongst some of the best engineering faculties in the world by a range of different metrics, be they national in the UK or international ranking systems. The program itself actually sits within engineering, but covers a load of topics and subjects that are part of other faculties as well. It's a really truly interdisciplinary program and considers a lot of the different challenges that we face in the world today. The Faculty of Engineering Sciences itself consists of 10 different departments, quite broad. So chemical engineering, you can see there amongst computer science, mechanical engineering, science, technology, engineering, and public policy. So thinking about some of the more holistic elements, around the nature of engineering and how it interfaces with society, and that's something we're interested in. And we also have the School of Management within the engineering faculty as well. So a good broad range of different subject areas, and we do tap into some of the talent in those other departments that sit within the faculty as well. And unsurprisingly, for an engineering faculty, there's a great breadth of industry connections with the departments, depending on the kind of work and research they're undertaking. So just a selection here listed, from Google DeepMind, a lot of AI computational work. So some of the key sort of talking points in today's society, but more traditional engineering firms such as Mercedes, they're listed. There's a much broader range of information available through the QR code, which you can scan on this slide to find out more about how the faculty and its various departments engage with industry. Again, unsurprisingly, the kind of work we undertake in this MSc program, it has relevance to a range of different industries in the resources sector. And that's something we can touch upon in terms of careers in this presentation, but a lot of what we do feeds on the comment and feedback from industrial partners and businesses as to how to better prepare students as graduates going into careers in these sorts of industries. So that's something we have a lot of focus on. And not only do we, engage with these companies and provide opportunities for students to engage with them, but we hope and expect that many of them will go on to amazing and fulfilling careers in this sector. And we have a dedicated careers team that is there to support you as a student, but also after you graduate for a number of years. So again, there's some information here available about the kind of services UCL provides to you as a student and as a graduate. And we do encourage our graduates to continue to make use of these services. And we do our best, as well as staff from the program, to support you after you have graduated, including providing references, for example. So, we are really keen for you to have really interesting and diverse careers after you have undertaken study at UCL. And we're very happy to continue to support that afterwards as well. Some research highlights. Here we're promoting UCL's capacity to develop really great graduates who go on to do amazing things, either academically or through industry or through policy routes as well. So we have a big series here of videos looking at disruptive thinkers. So you can scan that QR code there to find out a bit more about the kind of things that our graduates do engage with. And again, the field of natural resources is a very broad one. And so the very first example there, how waste can help us to get to net zero, really thinks about the secondary use of some of the resources that we have already consumed as a society, used, and then in the past maybe disposed of, but actually we can, be more intelligent about secondary reuse and of those resources. In different ways in our society today. So please take a look at the kind of work that our academics and our graduates do engage with after they have undertaken study at UCL. So we're going to dive into the MSc program at this point, and just provide an overview of what the program is aiming to do, how we try and achieve that, and what the program consists of. So the program itself is a fusion of science and engineering with sustainable, environmental, and social practice, and that's spread out across the entire academic year. And the program has been put together to give students a broad exposure to policy and practice across the natural resources sector, with a particular view to giving you insight into the engineering and science. So that helps distinguish the program from many others. You can come in from a whole variety of different backgrounds. Some things you may know a bit about, some you may not, but the idea is that you get to have some exposure to a whole range of different challenges that exist. And we give you that overview of the various things that are happening within the industry, giving you a broad understanding of what's going on. And we will look at depth at various points throughout the program to give you a bit of technical understanding and to give you some context as to how these issues are being addressed by the various industries within the sector, and the kind of things we have done in the past and we would look to do in the future, thinking about sustainability in particular and how we look to improve our practice across a whole range of different topic areas. And graduates leave the program well versed in multiple aspects of the industry, and with the confidence to assess multifaceted problems and discuss solutions for current and future challenges. So many of our graduates go off into really interesting sort of hybrid careers, consultancies, and so on, looking at more than one aspect of the challenges we face, and find themselves comfortable and confident in helping address these challenges at various levels in different parts of the sector. In terms of outcomes of the program, we have, we give you that opportunity to develop a substantive overview of the natural resources sector. So where these resources come from, how they're formed, how they are extracted, and how we manipulate them and use them and form some initial products that go on into the market. And we also consider a range of different factors that do and will have a more significant impact on how we do this in the future. So thinking about the environmental impact, the social impact, but also at a higher level, thinking about how we decide how to go about evaluating and exploiting these resources and making good, efficient, and sustainable use of them. So you develop that science and engineering, that technical understanding of what's going on, and then we add in all of these additional factors so that you begin to think about the context in which we are extracting and using these resources. And hopefully, as we've said, you become comfortable in making decisions and articulating your opinions on how we should be managing and using these resources. Within that, you will develop a whole range of different, I think we used to call them soft skills, but I like to call them durable skills that are useful within a career in this industry or many others. how to lead and function effectively in multidisciplinary teams, how to work effectively as an individual as well. And throughout the program, there is the opportunity to hear from a range of experts in the different fields and the different industries we cover. They come in and give their own perspective on the challenges that exist and in the ways in which the companies and they themselves are attempting to address some of those challenges, at various levels, from graduates through to intermediate and high level managers as well. The program is quite practical in many respects as well. So it's not just in classroom learning. We like to get you out to try various things where we can. So that does involve the opportunity to go on field trips. We've introduced some additional lab components this year. So it's all about experiential learning and having a go at the various challenges that, engineers may face or scientists may face as well. It's not to say that you would be expected to come in with a background that is not science or engineering heavy and go out as a technician, for example, but you get to experience the kind of challenges these individuals face and gain an appreciation of the difficulties and the challenges we do face. And that places you better to have discussions about how to address these sorts of problems in your professional career later on. As part of this MSc, a third of the credit is related to your research project and research skills as well. So over the course of the year, we introduce how to plan and manage and develop your skills in undertaking a research project. And then you head out to Adelaide in South Australia to undertake that research project over the summer period as well. So over the course of the year, you develop the practical skills you need to undertake a research project. And then you pick a project of interest to you from a broad range of different topic areas, maybe tweak that project to suit your interests, and then go on and spend 5 months working on that project out in Australia. UCL and the program offers an opportunity to meet, work, and learn with a diverse group of individuals. UCL is really a truly international university and really offers the opportunity to speak to people who have very different backgrounds, both academically and personally, and you grow and learn and develop from your engagements with these individuals. And that very much reflects the professional workplace as well, where you'll be working with people who have very different backgrounds, very different interests, and all aiming perhaps for different outcomes in the course of their work. So it's good to learn to work with individuals in these sorts of scenarios and situations. And as I've touched upon already, we do spend nearly half our time on the program in Australia. You undertake the research project there. But what's nice about that particular location is it's situated within a part of Australia that's very heavily involved in the resources sector, and it gives you an opportunity to potentially engage with companies, with individuals who have direct links into some of the most amazing forward-thinking practice and research in the areas we cover within this MSc program. I can also proudly say that the program has been accredited with the Institute of Materials, Minerals and Mining, or IOM3, to CN standard with further learning. So for those of you who may have an interest in becoming chartered as an engineer later on, if you have a first degree in a chartered or an engineering area, this additional MSc will complete the package of qualifications required for the educational component of chartership. But if not, at the very least, accreditation gives you some level of assurance that the program has been externally validated and what we teach you is deemed of sufficient quality, and that is recognized externally. So we're really proud to have that accreditation for the program. A little bit about the program team. So myself, I'm the program director, and I'm an associate professor of teaching in sustainable resource management here in the chemical engineering department. And I also have some role in terms of sort of managing examinations and managing that process and that side of things. Other key team members here, so we have Izzy. Izzy is also a lecturer on the program, but a big role she has within the department is the departmental tutor role. So a lot of responsibility in terms of pastoral issues and ensuring your experience at UCL is a fulfilling one personally, as well as sort of professionally and academically. She also coordinates the dissertations and that engagement with Australia from an academic perspective every year. Two other key teaching team members. We have Sudesh Nubasu, who is halfway between chemical engineering and earth sciences and undertakes a range of teaching in those fields, and also is the faculty EDI race champion as well. And we have Albi Feezy, who is a part-time lecturer on the program and has a particular interest in sustainability issues and financing of resource projects as well. We have two individuals here who lead on our engagement in Australia. So we have Albert Uhas, who coordinates the dissertations with UniSA and also does some guest lecturing on the program. So he comes to London every January to engage with students on the program and get the ball rolling on dissertation selections, and is the key contact whilst you are out in Australia. And Craig, who delivers one taught module in Australia. So as well as doing the dissertation, you do this social licensing module. And that's really, a key area of expertise and knowledge now in most industrial settings, thinking about how we engage with the community in progressing with the kind of work we undertake. We also have Pinky Wong here, who's a teaching and learning administrator, but helps look after that side of things for the MSc program. So there's the academic work we undertake and the teaching and the learning you do, but there's also everything that happens in the background to facilitate that and make sure it happens. And Pinky's your key contact in that area. And there's plenty of other people who are engaged in the program to varying degrees as well, but these are the people you would be likely engaging with most often in the next academic year. In terms of the program structure, so this tends to evolve with time as we're responding to changes in sort of industry demand and the sort of the comments of graduates and students in the program. So unsurprisingly, there are a few little changes in here to what we're hoping to offer next year. As I've said, the program is underpinned with science and engineering, and that's really heavy in the first term. So we really go in to give you that technical breadth and depth to begin with. And so we have some core modules. One of them there is the oil and gas extraction, processing, and the sustainable energy transition module. So this is a new module for next year, which grows upon the natural gas processing module, which is currently stated on our website. So the module is evolving to give you a more holistic overview of oil and gas extraction, but also looks at the sustainability of the industry and what we would be looking to do with many of the unit operations and many of the processes that currently exist and how they may evolve into the future. And we also have the mineral usage and extraction and processing module. That's one of two modules that I teach. And again, here we're looking at a broad overview of the industry. Where do these resources come from? How do we extract them and process them? What are some of the factors in the background that have implications for that, such as process safety and design? And just give you that broad sense of what it is we're doing and how that's implemented. We also look at the nuclear industry and a little bit of oil and gas as well within that module. Continuing on that theme of core modules, so in term 2, there are two other core modules for the program: prevention and remediation of environmental contamination. So that's another module I teach, and that's looking at initially the policy aspects of how we look at environmental challenges, and then begins to look at how we address the environmental issues we associate with minerals usage and extraction and the processing of those resources. So the two modules link together well in terms of the examples we use to describe and explain and demonstrate how we deal with the challenges we face. And we also have here a module from the management school, a real linchpin, decision and risk analysis. And what this will do is allow you to bring all the knowledge you develop in the combination of modules you take throughout the MSc, and allow you to think about how all of those challenges might impact on a decision-making process within a business, impact on the kind of risks we establish, and make you think hard about how we make the decisions as to how to invest in a particular operation, whether or not we actually do that, what are the kind of differences between different options we might have, and what are the implications for business and financing. So a really useful module for context within the MSc. We then have 3 optional modules now in the year coming, as well as those 4 core modules. And so the selection here is given at the bottom. So we actually have 7 modules you can choose from. Previously, we've had the Earth Resources and Sustainability module within the package of modules for the MSc. However, it's likely that module is now to be withdrawn from the program from next year. So where we have covered content in that module in the past, the content will actually be redistributed into a couple of other modules so that you don't miss out on any of the experiences that are otherwise not covered within it. But we've been able to change our offering in terms of options in the last year or so, and we've continued to try and offer new options as well. So we have four, well, in fact, most of the modules looking at the titles cover some aspect of sustainability, and you may have different interest areas. So we have sustainable water management, clear water focus there, on the hydrological cycle and how we treat and manage water that we use as a society. We have geology for sustainable resource management and the energy transition. So actually this module looks at the development of resources in the subsurface. So actually how are these resources formed and developed, but also looking at the formation of particular environments that we have potential use for in the future, such as the subsurface storage of carbon dioxide and hydrogen potentially as well. So actually as a module, it links really well with the oil and gas extraction module and gives you a base understanding of where these resources come from and how these environments develop, and understand the importance of that in the context of extraction, as well as potential future storage solutions. We've got a module in renewable energy in the resources sector, so very much looking at the different forms of renewable energy that we have and we are developing, and thinking about where the resources come from that are critical to developing those technologies. So that's a very popular module. We have business and sustainability, which is a very limited availability module, but looks at how business incorporates sustainability practice and the various factors they have to consider in that. So the module covers a whole range of different industries. One of the topics they cover is related to mining. Last year, we introduced two new options, sustainability and decision-making, and the sustainability analysis of engineering systems. So both these modules actually cover a lot of the content that would be in the business and sustainability module, but it's more focused on the industry we're interested in and the kind of challenges we face within that. The sustainability and decision-making module is for any student with any academic background. The engineering systems module would be for students who have an engineering or a science background already, as you need to build upon that to be able to undertake the work within that module. I'm really pleased to say we have been able to launch a new module for next year, and that's the financing of renewable resource projects. So again, that's looking at both the quantitative and the qualitative aspects of how we look at project financing, and with a particular focus on the resources sector. The examples given for this particular module will look at resources for the production of different forms of energy. So that, like I said, that's a new module, and that's part of our aim to sort of grow what we offer and deliver, and give you a different aspect of what's happening within the broader industry. So I'm expecting that to be a popular option going forward. Across the entire academic year, as I've said, we have the dissertation. So whilst you're in London, we look at research methods, research skills, looking at other skills such as debating as well. So you undertake that learning in London. That's worth 15 of the 60 credits. And then after the end of term 2, so the end of March in London, you then have a few weeks off. And in that time, you then head out to Australia. And after the Easter holiday, after the Easter break finishes, you then commence studies at UniSA. And there are two primary for credit components of that experience. There is the social licensing module, which will be taught across the 4 or 5 months you're out in Australia. And there's also the dissertation, which is, supervised by an academic, but also a lot of self-directed, self-led learning. So there's a big emphasis on you to manage your time and ensure that, you are doing the things you need to be doing to undertake a successful research project. And within that time out there, there's a whole range of other activities that take place. One other option we do have is to stretch this MSc from a 1 to a 2-year program. This only happens once you've arrived at UCL, but the offer is the opportunity to apply for a year in industry with some industrial partners that we have. So the partners can change every year, and we may be sending 2, 3, 4 students to these industrial partners, but you have this option to apply to one of the companies once you're here and the process is explained to you. And if you're lucky, you might get selected for a 1-year industrial placement. You're still a student with UCL, and you receive a bursary to cover your living costs, and there is a reduced tuition fee, but it is part of a wider MSc program offering, and you would get a 2-year MSc if you were to successfully complete that second year in the program. As you should be aware of, there is a substantial international component to this MSc, and you spend about 6.5 months in London. where most of your taught learning is undertaken. And then you head out to Adelaide in South Australia, you know, a part of Australia that's really heavily invested in resource extraction and use, and has some fantastic institutions with research focused on these particular areas. So you spend approximately 5 to 5.5 months out there. Really depends on how the dates fall with Easter, for example, and various public holidays. But you will be out there from at some point in April until the beginning of September. And at that time, there'll be various activities organized, as well as the 4 credit activities, which is the research project and the social licensing module. And why do we have this partnership? Why is it important, and why do we think you should be doing it? So it's a real opportunity to work with academics and scientists, who are looking at problems related to our area of interest in a region where there's a lot of active operations industrially taking place. London is an amazing place to be and learn, and UCL is a fantastic institution, but the UK is not a country heavily invested in mining in the same way that Australia is. And so the partnership offers a real opportunity to go away, experience a different environment, but also be, have that opportunity to be involved and engage with operations that are taking place, and potentially work with academics who might have active industry links into these particular areas of research and interest. We have the social licensing module delivered there as well, and Australia is a location that has had many challenges related to community impact with the resources sector, and so there's a huge wealth of knowledge and information that's been developed with respect to that. And so it's a great place to go and learn about those sort of active challenges with a range of different communities who have been impacted by large scale developments in the past, and where best practice is being developed as to how to address these issues in the present and into the future. UniSA also has some amazing research facilities. UCL is right in the middle of London, and it's quite a compact campus, whereas for UniSA, they're able to spread out. The facilities are, really high quality, really new, and there are opportunities to learn a range of different techniques and have a range of experiences out there. But there's also the opportunity to go and visit mines and other industrial facilities located in and around South Australia to really get a feel for how these operations take place outside of the classroom. It's one thing to see it and talk about it in a theoretical sense and do that in a lecture theatre. It is really another to actually go and experience that in reality. And we really are in an industry that is very heterogeneous, can be quite inconsistent in how things are from day to day. So it's really good to experience that and really understand the challenges that we face and how that actually feels on a day-to-day basis. And there's just that, the opportunity of going abroad, living in another part of the world and making new connections as well. So that, again, we're in a really international industry. Australia is a big part of that. So if you're thinking about careers into the future, it's good to go and experience where, different work packages in different parts of the world are taking place and how that's engaged with in those different locations. As we've said, the dissertation, the research project is undertaken with UniSA. So this is an opportunity, again, to work with those academics and scientists in a range of different topic and interest areas related to the program. And what we do is every year we have a package of research project areas which are headed up by academics. So I think we've got, I think there's 17 academics involved this year, and each one is supervising, maybe 3 or 4 research projects. And within those packages, there's a variety of different types of research related to, different backgrounds and different areas of interest. So, there could be a more economic focus, or there could be a more science and engineering focus to the topics. But what we try and do is generate a range of projects within different topic areas that cater to a range of different academic backgrounds. And so there's the opportunity for each of you to have a project that is of interest to you. And there's also the opportunity to sort of refine the project title and maybe create something that better suits your interests. If you find that the selection of projects is interesting, but maybe not quite what you would like to choose from in that particular year. And there is a whole range of other activities taking place out here. So, seminars, industrial engagements. And so, there's a range of opportunities for engagement. And within the module itself, apart from the dissertation, at the very end, you produce a research poster, which is displayed, and a couple of us come from London to come and evaluate those posters. But it's a real opportunity for you to show off what it is you've been doing. And we really see some amazing research taking place every year. So yeah, it's a brilliant end to the program, and that sort of final well done and last hurrah before you head off into your future careers. I thought I'd just give you an example of one of these clusters of projects for this year. So we have this one here, the critical metals for the clean energy transition, looking at environmental impacts. There's actually 5 projects within this particular cluster. And what I wanted to show was just, you know, the sort of variety in the different project titles we have, and then the kind of sort of academic backgrounds that might be suitable for engaging in this in each of these particular projects. So you can see 2 of them have a, you know, more of a business focus. One has you know, an economic component to it as well. So we're really trying to promote interdisciplinarity and you not just using your you know, first degree background or your professional background, but you know, joining that with the experiences you've had during your time at UCL and trying to look at you know, a challenge from a more holistic point of view. But you can still have that, you know, particular interest areas that is the main focus of the question you're trying to answer. And as I said, these project titles can evolve quite a bit. So we've had some, again, really interesting projects looking at more of an economic focus or more of a, you know, say a chemistry focus, but all focusing on looking at, you know, an ore deposit, for example, or bigger questions like the one I've sort of presented here. So yeah, you know, there will be an opportunity for all of you to do something of interest to you, you know, making use of the background skills you have. And as I've said, we're also keen to encourage you to use new skills. So some of our students with business and finance backgrounds really want to try doing some, you know, quantitative lab work, for example. So you upskill and learn how to work in a lab, and you do some research involving that lab work. But you might still use, you know, some of your background knowledge to look at the economic implications of that particular series of processes you're investigating in the lab, for example. So yeah, we really encourage you to step out of your comfort zone and try and do something new, but still related to your area of interest in some way or another. We do have offsite visits within the program. These are usually attached to a particular module. So every November we go to Dorset with the geology module, and that's looking at subsurface geology. So what do these rocks look like? How are they formed? Actually, how do they appear in reality? And what are the kind of challenges we might associate with how they are existing in the real world? And thinking about the relationships between the different rocks and the structures that exist, and what that means for say, the formation of hydrocarbons or the future storage of you know, different gases underground. As 2 examples there. So just a great picture there from actually this November, just looking at some of the spectacular landscape we have on the south coast of the UK. We have several trips every year whilst the students are out in Adelaide in Australia, so visiting a steelworks and a smelter in an area further north of Adelaide. And then there's usually other opportunities for other smaller scale trips as well, maybe day trips that are organized on an annual basis. So some of these sites are available some years and not others. So it really depends on what they can offer on a year-to-year basis. But again, it's about having that exposure and that opportunity to engage with the real practical application of the work you learn in the lecture theatre or in the laboratory. We also run an annual field trip to Olkiluoto in Finland. So this trip's actually leaving on Sunday this week. So we spend 3 days out in Finland. We go and visit the world's only almost functioning nuclear waste repository. And we also go and visit an underground mine near Helsinki as well, which again is just it's a nice soft opportunity to go and experience that underground environment, but one where those workings are not currently active, and so it's a safe and sort of controlled and managed way. And it's also an opportunity to visit a country that's very heavily involved in the industries we're interested in, but perhaps part of the world you might not otherwise choose to visit. So the students really enjoy going there every year and just experiencing another new place to visit and experience. In terms of how we teach and assess, so most modules typically have 3 or 4 hours of talk content every week, and that can be split across 1 or 2 sessions. Each module will approach teaching and assessment differently. So most modules have full face-to-face teaching with some online content where appropriate. That could be guest lectures or revision sessions, for example. Face-to-face sessions themselves may include your sort of traditional plenary lecture, could be group work or discussions or guest lectures and other practical activities as well. And in terms of assessment, this is typically a mix of various types of coursework, reports, projects, We currently have 3 exams in the MSc program, but so not too many, and other forms of group work and online quizzes as well. And some of this can be formative, so for development, as well as summative, which is for credit, which is formally assessed by ourselves. So we try and ensure that there's a nice mix of assessment, and we do our best to try and spread this out relatively evenly across the terms as well, so you're not too overloaded at any particular point. But if you're undertaking, 3 or 4 modules per term, in some cases even 5, it's quite busy. So you have to keep on top of the work and just be diligent in managing your time throughout your studies at UCL. And just a couple of final slides here, just thinking more about the environment. So if you come to UCL, you're coming to London, and you're coming to a university right at the heart of the city. It really is one of the world's most multicultural and vibrant cities. About 10 million people. Really fast-paced, really, really going. A fantastic location to be learning and living in and growing in. There's, everything's happening all the time. It never stops. Day or night, there are opportunities to do all sorts of different things and go and experience, different shows, different outdoor activities in the areas around London as well. There's just so much going on. It's really an amazing place to come and spend some time. As I said, UCL is based in Bloomsbury, so it's really at the heart of London, right near most of the major train stations. And there's so many places to just go eat and drink and enjoy the atmosphere and the experience of London. Being the capital as well, there's loads of connections out to explore the UK a bit more, using those rail and air links very close to the campus. The UK is a small country. I think sometimes we might forget that when we live here, but it is a very small place relative to most other parts of the world. So it is very easy to get out, see different things, and it really does change. A very small number of kilometers away from the city centre, just the environment and the cultures and the communities change very quickly, and it's really something amazing to experience. Going to Adelaide is a very different experience. It is a city of more than 1 million people, so it is a bit smaller than London, but it's still pretty big. But it's a bit more spread out, and it's a bit more relaxed, a bit quieter, but there's still a lot going on. And I really do enjoy visiting Adelaide when I do go out to see the students every year. You do need a visa to go, and you do need to have student status with the University of South Australia, but this is a process we manage with the university from the moment you arrive at UCL. And at this point, we are about halfway through our second term, and a good number of the students already have their visas or have applied and are going through the process of getting them. And they come in within a few days of the applications being made and the relevant checks being undertaken. So it's not something to worry about before you arrive at UCL. We will ensure that you are offered the opportunity to apply for your student status and your visa as quickly as we possibly can. And whilst you're at UniSA, you are an exchange student there. You have full access to their facilities. However, the degree is still managed by us. Your assessment is still through UCL affiliated or UCL staff, and your degree is still a UCL only degree. So it's a real opportunity to go and work with these different scientists and engineers and in this different environment, but it's still very much a UCL degree run on a UCL timetable, so to speak. Housing. So we've been getting increasing housing support every year. Again, it's something you shouldn't worry too much about before you arrive at UCL. And even at this point, the housing situation is only becoming clear around now or over the next month. So most students typically solve their accommodation question before they arrive, or you can arrive and then, stay in an Airbnb or a hostel for a week if you really want, and go and sort other forms of accommodation. But students typically have this all resolved before they arrive at UniSA. And we have a few housing partners now who are very, happy to take on UCL students. So it shouldn't be, again, something you worry too much about. The cost of living in Adelaide is less than London. These numbers do change year on year. Inflation has had an impact on this, but living in Adelaide is cheaper than London. The housing costs in London have grown quite substantially in the last couple of years, so that difference is growing. In terms of flights are more expensive than they used to be. It is possible to get flights from about £800 and upwards. However, about £1,000, maybe slightly more, is more realistic now. And the flight time is 21 to 22 hours or more if you go for a sort of a flight with a very short change in somewhere like Qatar or Abu Dhabi or Dubai. A lot of our students tend to fly out via other destinations, maybe take a few days to explore somewhere on their way down. And certainly some students at the end of their time in UniSA will stay there, maybe do a little bit of research to completion. go to conferences associated with the research, maybe take up a bit of paid work with some of the industrial partners, and some of them have stayed out there for up to a year or more, continuing to work after their studies have completed as well. So that's possible, and there's no requirement to return to London at the end of the degree. So once you complete your dissertation and your poster presentation at the end, that's it. You can head wherever you wish to. And one question we get every year really relates to these industry links and employability as well. So we've been doing more to find out where a lot of our graduates go. And I've been able to draw up a bit of a list of employers, many of which you will recognize that our graduates go on to work for. And the kind of work graduates do is often related to a combination of their first degree or their prior professional experience, plus what they've learned in this program. And what we're finding is that the different experiences students have through the GM&R program allows them to articulate themselves in different ways and show that they have a really holistic and comprehensive overall understanding of the industry. And that allows them to navigate and find ways into a whole range of different careers. I was speaking to a graduate the other day about how they're going on to do carbon accounting. And so, we talk about subjects like that, not to a great degree, but to enough of a degree that you understand what the implications are. And then maybe you can take a combination of prior experience plus current experience, put the two together and apply for really interesting careers such as those ones. So we generate a lot of consultants and analysts, and again, that relates to the breadth of the kind of studies that we undertake. Again, the combinations of modules that we offer seem to offer up really interesting opportunities. If you take fertilizers, for example, fertilizers are often the product of both products of oil and gas processing as well as products of mineral processing, and actually the combination of knowledge areas is really useful in an area that you might have otherwise not have realized. We have specialists and engineers who often take their first degree and then combine it with what they've learned in the program, and they're able to offer a unique insight and offering within areas otherwise covered by prior experience. And it does allow them also to advance quite quickly through companies. So we do have graduates from the first year of the program now who are senior directors in mid-large size companies. So progression like that over 7 to 8 years is amazing to see. And I think really says a lot about what we do offer and how, as you progress through your career, all the different tools and knowledge areas become increasingly useful in those mid and higher level roles that you come across. We do have a lot of PhD students as well who have taken the program previously, so that's great to see, and some teachers and educators in various settings as well. But looking at the list of companies, so some very recognizable consultancies, and the big four are in there, for example, EY, Deloitte, PwC, and KPMG. That's in the UK, in Europe, in the US, and out in China as well. We've got a couple of graduates with McKinsey. So again, a big consultancy, arguably one of the best in the world. And then we have some more specialist consultancies related to the industry here. So, WSP and Wardell Armstrong, for example, big engineering consultancies. Guidehouse is a new one where we have a few graduates there, and they're working on challenges to do with energy transition and novel energy and fuels. Analysts there, Crew and Argus are two big standout companies. We've got ExxonMobil there as well, but actually looking at sales and analytics rather than on the science and engineering side. So that's where we see graduates from backgrounds such as accounting and HR learning about the industry and then being much better placed to go back in and position themselves ahead of competing graduates. So a whole full spectrum of really interesting careers have been developed after study on this MSc. So if you have any further questions, you want some further information, then we have this mailing list you can email here, and there's a number of members of the team who can respond to different sorts of queries as they come in. So there's an opportunity to ask questions after this presentation. But before we do that, we have a bit of time for a Q&A session before we wrap up the presentation. So I notice there's a couple of questions in the Q&A here. Before I jump in as well, I should just allow two of our current students the opportunity to introduce themselves. So Jay, if you're happy to go first.
Yep. So hi everyone, my name's Jay, and yes, I'm on the GM&R program. So my background's in engineering, and it's been quite an interesting program for me. although I learned a lot of things that are technical in my course, I feel like this course has really opened up my horizons quite a bit.
Great, thanks, Jay. Seftria?
All right, thank you, Alex. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Quick introduction from me. My name is Anjas, and I'm a student in this program. I might be represented as international student who has no engineering background in this program. I earned my bachelor degree from the University of Indonesia, a Bachelor of Economic majoring finance. To provide some background on why I joined this program, before I joining this program, I previously worked in the mining industry at a state-owned company in Indonesia for almost 6 years. At some point in my mid-career, working closely with several engineers in my working environment has built a desire in me to deepen my knowledge of all facets of natural resource sector, which is expanding my career growth. With a deeper awareness of technical aspect of natural resources and broader understanding of management concept, I intend to better understanding of how technical factors affect the financial success of natural resource project. In order to fulfill the aspiration, I'm looking a master program with multidisciplinary approach and found the master program, this GMNR at UCL. And I think the GMR program is unique, thanks to Alex and the team who designed the program. What I found interesting are the first, this program is multidiscipline. Those with engineering and no engineering background could join this program. I don't need to spend years to be an engineer to only get a broad understanding of relating to the natural resource industry. The second one, in this program, it's not only in the UK. You need to stay in Australia for 5 months to work on your dissertation project. This is good for me as an international student looking for international exposure. In addition, when it comes to Australia, the chance of visiting mining companies is certainly high compared to you just staying in the UK. The last one that I found interesting is all the subject in this program always considering the sustainability aspect, which is good because one day in the future, all of us gonna be a leader. And when it comes to decision making, whether it is in a business or as policymaker, we already had a sense of sustainability concept in our mind. So my experience so far for the first time is good. I learned something new. Several of it will be useful for me. I took one of my optional module titled Renewable Energy and Resources Sector. From that module, I learned a lot about renewable energy, and at the end of the module, they facilitate me to how to do simple life cycle assessment for the environment, which is, I think, quite useful. But you don't need to worry, even if you get a module you already know about before. I found that it still expands your understanding. For example, as a Bachelor of Economics, I already get decision and risk analysis in my previous degree, but I thought it would be boring for me at first. But the way the professor teach us by facilitating us to build our model on Excel, that's interesting for me, particularly because I'm already at a mid-level career. I certainly know it will be useful for your fundamental skills in your future. Yeah, I think that's all my testimony for me for this program. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, great. And just that was really really helpful actually. So yeah, great, thanks. So we've got 2 questions in the Q&A, and again, feel free to ask more questions. So in terms of Chika, your question here, in terms of your background, it is no problem at all. You know, you will have some overlap with some of the content that the program already delivers. But again, hopefully you will learn new things in areas that you have a background in. And in terms of things, you know, otherwise within the program, you'll learn a lot, and it's not difficult to you know, begin to engage with that content. And we're continuing to offer, you know, evolve our offering in terms of supporting as well. So if there are areas you feel like, you know, you need a little bit of extra support, then we can look to how to facilitate some additional support. You know, and one of the things we have, for example, is a personal tutor, and they can talk to you about maybe things that you feel like you need a little bit more help on, and even help you with that side of things as well. So yeah, you should not face any barriers on the basis of your background and what you've written in the question about being able to apply for and undertake the MSc. We have a second question here that relates to chartership. So without knowing what your degree was, all I can say is it's a maybe. If you have a science or an engineering degree, a first degree, then what would typically happen is if it wasn't already accredited by an institute, then what they would do is evaluate the transcript of your first degree and see whether or not it met the requirements And if it didn't, then most institutes would actually offer a slightly different route through to getting chartership. So even if your first degree didn't allow the standard route, the alternative route might just require a little bit more work, such as producing a report. It will certainly help at the very least, but it wouldn't be a barrier to not getting chartered later on if your first degree wasn't accredited. So again, nothing to worry about there, I don't think. And there will be a recording available, Mark, is that correct?
Sorry, yes, the recording will be made available.
Brilliant, thank you. So we're quite happy to wait for a few more minutes if you have any more questions. Feel free to ask questions of both Angus and Jay as well if you'd like. Hi, Chika. Yeah, so you're absolutely welcome to apply. I couldn't tell you whether or not you would get a place without, that wouldn't be appropriate to do so. But in terms of your background and your experience and so on, it's absolutely the kind of thing we'd be looking for in an applicant. Okay, so I think if we just wait another minute, just in case there's any more questions, and then we can draw it all to a close. Okay, I think that's probably it. So if you do have any more questions, as we've said, please feel free to email the ChemEng GMNR staff email address that's still on the screen. Just before we wrap up, we just have a few final slides here for you. So in terms of scholarships and bursaries, UCL has a range of different scholarships available, as does the department as well. So there's a couple of links in the QR code here through to the UCL scholarships and bursaries. The department every year also offers a couple of scholarships and bursaries for postgraduate taught students here. We typically open up the application for the chemical engineering bursary and scholarships after the application period closes, so from April onwards. And we would email offer holders with information and links as to how to apply for those. And then we have the William Ramsey Memorial Postgraduate Bursary as well. So there's just one of those between the department's various postgraduate taught programs. And they are, or that is available to apply for at the start of the academic year. If you want to stay in touch with the faculty and the department, there's a range of different links here available for you. So again, feel free to take a screenshot or a photo and sort of join us on our various social media profiles, where we do push out a lot of information. This year is 100 years of the chemical engineering department at UCL, so there's a lot of activity taking place in the next few weeks. So please do join us through the various social media channels to experience some of those activities. And before you go, we would be really grateful if you could just take a few minutes to scan the QR code and just complete a short survey about your experience at the event today. And yeah, I just hope it's been really informative and interesting. So thank you for attending.